I mean, those of you that are watching, listening, that don't know what daytimers are, it's basically having a nightclub but during the day. And the reason for that was because Punjabi kids were not allowed to go out at night, and our parents didn't allow us to do these things. So we improvised as a community. We created an environment during the day where people could get together and enjoy good music, a good environment, and just dance and just kind of get to know each other. But you're right. When things started to turn a little bit towards the negative side was when the grooming really took off, and Birmingham was a hotspot for that.
Yeah.
And were you around at that time? Did you do you know anybody who suffered that, or did you see that
Yeah,
take place?
I seen that. I seen a lot of that. I mean, I've seen cases where we'd be breaking up for summer holidays, and when we come back and we'd look for our friends, and we'd understand that she's run away to Pakistan, or
Oh my
she's been taken away, she
God.
left her family, and it's very heartbreaking because grooming is a horrible thing. Grooming is very, very bad. And
Yeah.
when somebody does it and targets a community or a religion for grooming, I mean, it's even bad than just, it's worse, it's horrible. Uh,
Right.
I've seen many, many cases where girls have just disappeared. I'm sure it's happened where Muslim girls have disappeared or run away with Sikh guys. I'm not saying that doesn't happen,
Right.
but I don't think it was ever out there to anybody's intention to groom, where these guys were always out to groom. And this is the problem that the
Yeah.
Sikhs had, that you don't just target the girls because they're vulnerable. So there was, that was a big issue for us growing up.
That was when it was more prevalent. I mean, it still exists now, but I remember that in the 90s, it was around uh, it's not Solihull. I'm forgetting the name of the place in Birmingham, like Stratford Road, Gurdwara. There
small,
was
small, small Heath, Alum Rock,
Small, right, yeah.
Heath,
So
Alum
there,
Rock.
there was that was like a hotspot almost for grooming, where it was happening every day in mass volumes. I know that because I used to go to like the Gurmat camp, the Sikh camp there at Stratford Road, Gurdwara, and that was where they started the Sikh Awareness Society.
Yeah.
And at first, I didn't realize what it was for until all of a sudden, friends of mine, girls who had been coming every year to the camp, and we'd get together, catch up, and it was like our little get together space that they didn't turn up anymore. And then we were having like lectures during the camp to explain to us what grooming was. That
Yeah.
there are Muslim men who are in groups, so it's grooming gangs, and they are targeting Punjabi and Sikh women, and they'll wear the kara, and
Yeah.
they'll change their name and say that my name is Harjeet Singh or something, right? So that you build a trust, and you're not you don't feel threatened, and they would lure the girls in, and then in most cases the girls were forced to leave home because they would have some sort of something to hold against them, be it photographs, be it any type of a threat that we're going to go and tell your parents. And that fear for the girls was so dire that they would leave their families instead of being able to sit there and tell their families the truth of what happened. um, I don't know if it's the same now. Do you think that Punjabi parents would be that strict? Like, if somebody turned to you, like one of your offspring said, "This is what's happening to me," um, how would you deal with it?
I don't think it was Punjabi parents were strict at that time. I don't think it was they're being strict. I mean, look, there's being firm.
There's no way, as a Punjabi girl, that I would ever have dared to tell my dad that first I had a boyfriend,
Well,
and
you shouldn't have had one. Full stop.
exactly.
You shouldn't be even having that discussion with your dad.
So
So it's not a
So
topic.
you see where the problem is? The problem is that if that sort of a
No,
situation did occur,
no,
because we were afraid
there's
of
a
the
difference between.
parents.
I think what happens is when our parents came over here, it was all new to them. somebody said on here, it's been going on for 50 years. Now, and if it has been going on for 50 years, it's shameful. I mean, I've been seeing it since I was at college and at school. I'm not that old, but it's Harkirat Date who said that, and I appreciate his comments. And you're right. I think it was the communication gap between the parents and the children. And our parents were out doing double shifts. They were working. The mom was out, the father was out, the mother was out, and everybody was out. And the key was left under the mat or behind the flower pot. And you'd come home, and you'd have all of that time, and the disconnect, the disconnect you have with your parents, and sitting down and talking about these things. It wasn't a topic you would talk about at that time. It just wasn't. I mean. Watching a girl drink or even smoke today, it's like it's
normal.
Them days it'd be a community issue. It'd be an issue that flanedi kuri pub ch dekhi. If you see an Asian girl working behind a pub serving pints, would be a massive
problem.
Massive no. But I don't know. I think, have we integrated into this society too much? Have we lost our culture? I don't know. I mean, do we need? Are we that far advanced? Is it? It's these are questions we've got to ask ourselves.
Right. So my question is that we saw that growing up, right? We saw that happening around us, and I can sympathize with the girls who were in that situation, because I know how afraid I was of my dad. Honestly, I don't know. I mean, I can't say it, but I don't know what I would do if I was in that situation where there was a severity as to how parents took information back then to now. This generation is a lot more open-minded and maybe supportive compared to that generation. There's no way that my dad would have been okay, number one, with me having a boyfriend. That would have been the end of conversation and end of probably a lot of other things as well. But if there was anybody who had something to hold over me which would have brought shame to my family, be even a photograph or a conversation or anything, right? That would have been devastating. And like you said, it would have been a community issue, which is why I think that the community in the Stratford Road area, they got together and they said, we have to do something, because some girls were being forcefully kept in the homes of Muslim families. They were being forced to convert their faith. They were forced to marry, and they were basically imprisoned. And it wasn't until they tried to seek help through the police or through other ways that they were actually then rescued through different organizations, Sikh Awareness Society being one of them. But my question to you is that if, God forbid, if you were in that situation, right, how would you deal with it as a parent?
It really depends. I mean, you asked me this question today, I would have a different answer. Had you asked me this question 15 years ago, I would have a totally different answer.
What would be the difference in the answers?
The answer in the difference is 15 years ago, I would be saying that this conversation wouldn't be happening, because, this is not even a conversation we're going to be having, because you understand the rules and regulations and the protocol of what's going on and how the community runs and what the rules of the house are. And it's then the mom's department to explain to the daughter that, that you should know what's wrong and right, and you should tell her. It would be a totally different conversation. Today, I would hope that all parents have that communication with their child, that a child is so comfortable to come and talk to their parents, to the mother, to the father, to the brother, to say, I am in this situation. I have got myself into this situation. Now, what do I do now? I'm in a corner. I'm in a real bad position. And that's very, very important. So it's down to the parents to allow that communication and allow the child to feel so comfortable that she can go to her parents and tell them that there is an issue, that she's being blackmailed or she's being harassed and she's being made to do things against her will, that there should be somebody in the family for that girl to go to, maybe the chachi or the chacha or the pua or the masi. There should be somebody there. Going back 15, 20 years ago, that wasn't there. That infrastructure wasn't there. It wasn't even a topic that could be discussed. And if it was, you're getting on the first flight to India, you're getting married there. In the process, you're getting your ribs broken and your buti smashed up and everything else in the process. So that's all that was going on. To stop that from happening, you got to get rid of that bad tree. You got to take it from the root. You got to pull the root. So you got to get to the root of that problem. And it's important to get to the root of that problem. And, and it's nothing to be ashamed about. There's nothing to be ashamed about, because there's a cure for all of these things. But don't write off the person. It's you got to support him. You got to be there. But this is our gurdwara. Our Gurdwara is a massive infrastructure if you use it properly. It's not just there to go and have langar and do part and do all of that. It's a place to communicate. They should have health clinics there. They should have advice bureaus there. There should be libraries there. All these things should be going on there. There should be rooms for shelter there. There's one other topic. I mean, it's probably too sensitive to talk about on the channel today, and you probably need a whole hour for that for itself. But there should be rooms there. There should be property. There's so much money that the Gurdwara have. So much money. They should be buying properties. And if there's an abuse of a woman who's getting abused, or a child who's getting abused, or a man who's getting abused, he should be comfortable to go to a Gurdwara, and a Gurdwara should, between their network of the Gurdwara around England and the world, they should be able to place that person in a secure, safe environment.
I 100% agree with you. That was the idea of what a Gurdwara was supposed to be. Now, you're probably more traveled than I am. I haven't traveled as much as you have, but from what I've seen from Gurdwara across the world, there's none that embody any of that. The youth, once they hit like university age, they're disconnected. Like, you can force your child to go to the Gurdwara while they're still a child, right? But as soon as they start to think independently, if they're not connected or they don't have anything that's nourishing their spiritual growth, there's going to be a disconnect, right? And I'm part of that too. I felt very disconnected from the Gurdwara space. It didn't offer me any of that nourishment that you just talked about, right? So I think somebody just said we do need Gurdwara reform. I agree. I definitely agree. But we should talk about that in another show, because I have a whole load of opinions about how Gurdwara should operate. And I think that's a nice transition into the next topic. I would love for you to share with us what.
Before you go into that, I just want to just say something out there, because not all Gurdwara. Look, if you haven't been, and I'm not plugging a Gurdwara here, if you haven't been to Shepherd's Bush Gurdwara, please come to Shepherd's Bush Gurdwara. It's the only Gurdwara in central London. It's the oldest Gurdwara, or one of the oldest Gurdwara outside of India. It's 110 years old. Our committee is all young people, all professionals. We have all sorts of discussions and topics going on there. And one thing I would like to say, if anybody during this COVID-19 situation is struggling with anything, please reach out to, I would like to say, any of your Gurdwara. But one thing I am saying categorically, reach out to Shepherd's Bush Gurdwara, speak to the Sangat Seva committee there. Any struggle you're going through, langar nahi milda, रहन दी जरूरत आ, कोई एहो जी issue आ, कोई भी issue आ, please reach out to the Gurdwara. And that's what every Gurdwara should be there for. But I can tell you with my hand on my heart, that Gurdwara will not disappoint you, because the whole ethos of that Gurdwara is for that. And at a point when there was probably maybe 50 Sangat members coming, now you see a flotation of around 500 flowing in and out over the course of the week. And on a big program, you're going into thousands. And these are all young people. These are, and I'm not discriminating against our elder people, because they will come to the Gurdwara. We have live streaming going on. They've just put some brand new cameras in the Gurdwara for now, whilst COVID-19 is going on, to do streaming. So it's very important to do. If anybody's struggling, please feel free. And this is not a sales pitch. I'm saying to you, look, if anybody needs any form of help, assistance, a conversation to be had, come there. I am normally there every Sundays, and I'm sitting there and I'm open to speak to anybody. But besides me, sorry?
Even during lockdown?
No, not during lockdown, because they've got seva going on there. And the kitchen's operational, and they have a rota, and they have a systems in place, and we have to respect the protocol. So if you want to do seva, you have to approach them and say, look, I would like to do seva, and they'll put your name down on the rota, and then they'll invite you to do seva, to do that.
Does the Gurdwara Sahib have a website? How can people?
Yeah. There's a website. I mean, look, just Central Gurdwara Khalsa Jatha. It's there. Just put in Central London Gurdwara. There's only one in Central London. It's I think 98% run on renewable energy. Just come and have a look, guys. I mean, you must, whenever somebody comes to Central London, please, it's the oldest Gurdwara, 110 years old. Please come and do darshan at the Gurdwara, and you'll see hopefully you'll see the difference on how we think. There's another Gurdwara which I was impressed when I went to see, was Gurubani in Slough. I was only there for half an hour. When we were doing the seva at this Gurdwara, we took inspiration from their kitchen. So we went there to see that, and it was really good.